Welcome to The Planet Forward with Preetha. Conversations for a greener future. The place where we ignite discussions and uncover innovations driving us towards sustainability. Every episode, join your host Preetha as we explore the stories, ideas, and pioneers making a real difference in our world. Get ready to be inspired, learn, and be a part of the change that propels us forward to a greener tomorrow.
Welcome back to Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Mrinalini Ravi, the Deputy Director of Partnerships at BALM at the Banyan. Mrinalini brings over 15 years of dedicated experience in mental health, having worked extensively across various capacities to deepen the impact and reach of mental health services. Mrinalini's journey in the mental health sector is marked by her leadership in program management, her pivotal role in running a shelter for men with mental health issues, and her current position where she orchestrates the Banyan's extensive network of partnerships. Her expertise in fostering collaborations is instrumental in bringing innovative solutions to some of the most pressing mental health challenges. Her commitment extends beyond organizational boundaries, as she also serves as the executive director of Alada Mara, the Banyan Aziz Premji Foundation Center for Homelessness and Mental Illness in Bangalore. Mrinalini's work is a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of compassionate leadership in creating sustainable change in the lives of many. Today, we'll dive into her experience, the challenges she's navigated, the partnerships she's cultivated, and her vision for the future of mental health. Mrinalini, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Preetha. I'm happy to be here. Just offline, a quick cut. It's Azim Premji Foundation. So if you want to just go back and pick, because you said your team can do a cut, it's Azim Premji Foundation. But thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Wonderful. I'm so happy to have you here as well. So the first question I have for you is can you describe your day-to-day responsibilities at the Banyan and how they contribute to the organization's overall mission? What specific projects or initiatives are you currently involved in?
Okay. So there is no typical day at the Banyan. We are an organization that does a whole lot of work in different arenas, and I think that you've already introduced our work really well. But I would say my job, in a sense, isn't restricted to one particular portfolio, or these are my responsibilities, these are my projects. So since I'm part of the senior management team of the Banyan, there are some programs that are exclusively my responsibility, like partnerships, for instance. So a large part of my work involves liaising, touching base with donors and state partners, civil society partners. So a lot of my work goes in, just touching base with them, understanding what their understanding of the organization is, and if they have any questions, because we are a completely growth and innovation centric organization. As much as we are, as much as we started on a charitable note, we have filled a space in mental health that hitherto wasn't there. We have carved that space in mental health, but we've carved a space for ourselves, but then we realized that something like this didn't exist, right? This kind of
absolutely right. Yes,
in mental health didn't exist. So I'm giving you a long story because there's no me outside of the Banyan.
I want you to give me the long story. I want everybody who is listening to the podcast understand the work that has happened in Banyan over the years, and you all are the pillars of Banyan. So I really want you to tell us the long story.
Sure. So yes, so like I said, since we've carved that space for ourselves, which didn't exist earlier, there are a lot of there is a lot of explanation to do, not just for the outside world, but to ourselves as well, right? So why are we doing what we're doing? Why is this project important? Why is this relationship important? Why is that one client who may be going through some distress and suffering, or why is attending to that person, even if you say, oh, I have meetings, I have calls, it doesn't matter. If there is an individual who's suffering, why is it much more important to attend to that individual than, how many ever calls, how many ever meetings that you have? So understanding all this, explaining all this, and leading all this, right? It takes a lot of effort. So my answer to you is that consolidating the work of the Banyan for myself, for the team that I work with, and for the donors, for the outside world, for our civil society partners, for our patients, basically consolidating that, explaining that, clarifying questions, understanding our vision, and understanding our strategy and our progress formulates a huge part of my job. So yeah,
that is a very
that's
busy day. And like you said, right, there's so much effort it has, you'll have to take on your side to understand what happens within Banyan, and then effectively communicate that to your partners is like extremely important as well. So that's a very, how do I say, very responsible role that you have there. So again, I just want to continue with the same,
Sure.
question, and I want to ask, like, in your role as a Deputy Director of Partnerships, what unique contributions have you made to the Banyan's programs? Can you share a specific instance where your efforts have directly impacted the outcomes of a project or initiative?
Sure. I will go back again to that question because I realized, this is somewhat of an abstract answer, but not everything that we do can be put in words. But if we are looking at something more concrete, right? Earlier, a large part of my work was working with, like I said, what I do, just, consolidating the narrative of the organization. But now, since Aladamara, I work with, like you said, the Banyan and Azim Premji Foundation. It's a part of our Bangalore operations. Like all my other colleagues these days, a lot of my work, of over the past 1 year, has involved program management, which is something I love.
Okay.
Not that I don't love partnerships, I love it very much, but I think the pulse of the organization comes. The reason why my colleagues are so special is because they're directly engaged in work with the people whom we serve. I was a little, removed from that during the pandemic because we had other responsibilities to take on vis-a-vis, just the pandemic. So, but now I'm back to program management. So I'm doing a lot of work with the people we serve. So that takes up a lot of my time. So if you are to look at contributions that are tangible, other than the funds that we have raised, or the partnerships that we have forged, and how we and like I said, there's no, okay, but I'll just come to that. Program management, so since we're there, it involves a lot of individually looking at what client needs what. Like, for instance, we met somebody from Odisha last week in the train station when we were doing outreach to look for someone else.
Okay.
And so there was this lady who was extremely distressed and very scared, and unwell, and she was resistant to any kind of help. I think she's obviously gone through some kind of abuse in her life. So she was very, very wary of people trying to help her, because for all we're not going to help her, right? So we were looking for her, and then we found this other individual who was talking to himself on the train, near the train, and so just struck up a chat with him, and turns out he's from Odisha, where we also work. We also have a project there with a partner organization. So when we did that, we realized that he's somebody who's definitely, he's just had a breakdown in a sense, and he's lost. He basically got lost. Otherwise, he knew exactly where he is, and he's got obviously some diagnosable mental health issue, but everything that can be sorted, and he's a very resilient, wonderful person. So a lot of my day yesterday, for instance, went in just figuring out how exactly to ensure that he goes back home, because he can go back alone. He's worked in informal labor all his life, and his family basically said, you guys are coddling him and being too you're treating him like a child. Don't treat him like a child. Just send him back. Put him on a train, and he'll be fine. So we were trying to figure out how to give him a cell phone and a SIM like a SIM card, for instance, is how to buy a SIM card, because he doesn't have an Aadhaar card, right? So using one of our Aadhars to buy. So,
to get it.
Right. So some of these things may seem very small, but it's a very significant part of our work, because we basically asked him, we took him from the railway station, put him in our center, and now he wants to go back home. We owe it to him to send him back home. So we need to spend that kind of time doing justice to what he did.
Work you're doing.
So about 4 or 5 hours yesterday, not just with this gentleman, but a lot of our patients. So to do a quick review, has everybody who wanted to go back home, have they gone back home? The people who are at home, how are they doing? Are we checking? We had to discharge a few patients into another facility because our facility here is full, and we are now having a lot of demand for male beds for men, which at the moment we filled it immediately, and no matter how many reintegrations you do, this need seems to be very high for men suddenly, I would say over the past 3-4 months, and we're having to turn away patients.
Many
right?
people coming, okay.
Many people. So yesterday went away in a lot of that planning, and looking at each patient, looking at each client, patient, whatever you want to call it, and seeing what are the reintegration options, or the not just reintegration with family, but reintegration with community, how that happens, and then consolidate. Then that comes back to program strategy. So okay,
Yes.
so if we need more people, if we need more space, then how do we how are we going to organize that fast, right? That means we need to get licenses, which means we need to finish our budget validation very quickly, which means
so many steps and tasks need to be completed. Yes,
it's that one individual, but it leads to like a cascade of responsibility leading up to finally it came to like a tally ledger, and said and we were like, okay, no, we need to complete this tally thing to give it to the funder, because our funder is Azim Premji Foundation, and for this particular project, and we said that no, we need to get this done fast. So it started with X and it ended in Y. So that's typically how a day goes.
Thank you so much for telling that, and also connecting the points, right? Even first and foremost, kudos to have that kind of a compassionate heart. Like you said, even if it may look small, but it is huge. Every human life is important. It is not like one life or 1,000 lives. It's a human life, and it's extremely important. And ensuring that this gentleman reaches home safely, and you go to the nth degree to ensure that he has a phone, and you're buying a SIM card using your own personal Aadhaar card. It shows that how much you as an individual and the organization cares for the well-being of others, because we understand they're going through a lot of stress, and hence they're having all kind of mental health care issues, and this can be resolved, but if you give the right environment and the right treatment as well. So that itself explains a lot. But then you're also taking a learning out of it to show, okay, we are seeing a trend over the last 3-4 months. There's a lot of need for men to come to such a facility. So how do we make sure that we're prepared for that? And then putting the program manager's hat as well as the client partnership hat at the same time, and juggling between those. So I think you articulated really well, and it helps everybody understand what goes behind the scenes in order for you to even plan for such a large projects and initiatives. So then I have a similar question. I think I'm trying to coin all what you said and I'm forming a question. So, given your expertise in being the deputy director of partnerships, how do you see the Banyan's approach evolving in this field? Are there any new models or programs that you think could revolutionize the way mental health care is provided? Not just within Banyan, I'm talking about like in other facilities and within India, because you're seeing a trend happening. And so, and Banyan has been in this for a very long time. So what are the things can revolutionize this space?
Yeah. That's a loaded question, actually, because there are two things here. But before I answer that question, I'll just go back to your, what we talked about, with that individual patient and then planning an entire program around it. I think that is basically the DNA of the Banyan. And it came to us very organically. I was reading an article recently. I think it was, I'm not sure exactly where I read it, but it basically said that we have to stop we have to stop thinking that we're doing people a favor, we're doing charity, right? Because it is because of this patient or the patients like him and others that I get my salary. So so sometimes when we call them client, I appreciate that, because it's true. They are paying our salaries, right? It is because of them that we are here. So and they actually, this article was basically about how vulnerable communities who are served through charities actually contribute to the economy of the nonprofit, right? So there is an entire economy, there is an entire budget built around this gentleman going back to Odisha.
Yes.
Right. Or the first person whom our founders found, because the life that was given to all of us was given only because of these ideas that we had, that we need to reach out to these communities, but it's the fact that the communities let us do it.
Yes, true.
It's because the patient agreed to come with me to the ECRC. If he hadn't come, then no, it's one person less whom I need to serve, and it's one person less because of whom my livelihood may be spoiled as a result of this one person not saying yes. So they are so pivotal. They are so pivotal. That we need to. We need to realize the seriousness of what we're doing, which I think is what makes the Banyan special, because we've always, I'm realizing it much more, obviously I came in, Banyan was my first job. So I was quite a kid, when I came, and I was consumed with my own thoughts and my own ideas. But thankfully, we have an organization that never deters from. It's very patient as an organization. It never deters from telling you that, okay, you know what, yes, right now you're obsessed with XYZ, but please realize that it's the patient. It's because of them that it all happens. So I think as I was talking to you, and as I and when I was reading that article and part of my work, I realized that there is no favor that we're doing to anybody. I'm just going to have a glass of water, right?
If sure, please go ahead. No problem at all. Yeah.
Bangalore summers are cruel.
I know. I've heard this year it's really bad in India. It's really hot. Yeah,
it's really hard. So so I'm back. Where was I? Yeah, so we were talking about, so I just wanted to complete that point before I get to the next point. And as far as contributions that I have made, tangible contributions, I guess I'm happy to say that I never had one job at the Banyan right from when I joined. I think the second or the third day, we all had to. It was not because it was part of our orientation or whatever. One of our bathrooms in Kovalam in our rural project was not clean, and I think the person who usually the custodian had taken off. So the third day pretty much went off in just cleaning the bathroom. So I'm just giving you an idea.
Yeah.
So we've never had one job, but I think if you are to look at really clustering the kind of work that I do into silos, definitely partnerships, I would say, like, building donor relationships and creating a system around partnerships, creating a system around building relationships with not just donors, but with civil society partners and the government. And all this, of course, my direct boss is Vandana Gopikumar, who's the founder of the bank.
Founder, okay.
Yeah. So for me, I've been baptized by fire. So she pretty much taught me everything and teaches me everything I know. So when I say my contributions, I have to say that it all came from her. But what I feel I have managed to do is to create some semblance of a system to how you build relationships and to how you sustain relationships with all and bringing people together. I think that is something that I do quite well. Because you can't have a donor relationship without the programs taking a lead. But the program people are busy with the program. They're busy dealing with patients and everyday emergencies that we have. So how much of their time can I tap into in order to truly reflect our work? How much of it do I need to know myself? And yes, I mean, I can sort of immodestly say that I know the work of the Banyan very, very well, but I also know that no matter how much I know, if without an Archana or a Preetha or a Vanita or a Swapna, no, Swapna does the same work I do, so that's not the right example. But Archana, Vanita, Preetha, so many of our colleagues, led by Dr. Kishore, I need to bring them in at some point. I need to bring them in to talk to the funder. So when exactly do I need to bring them in? And this may seem innocuous, but it's very, very important because the organization needs to run. And I always need to keep that in mind before pulling them out and saying, hey, come for a meeting, come for this, come for that, right? So calibrating their time forms a huge part of my job, and knowing when to bring. Yeah. And then obviously there is finance and the internal services, because we as an organization have been intensely transparent. Much more transparent than most other organizations I have seen, or I'm saying this with a lot of pride, right? So if you want to decide that, I'm going to send somebody to look at your books in about 20 minutes, we always say yes.
No problem at all. It's up to date and it's very transparent. There's nothing to hide here. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, we make mistakes like everybody else. But why? There's no point in hiding the mistakes. In fact, Vandana always, she says, no, come, find our mistakes. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Right?
So we can course correct ourselves, right?
We can course correct ourselves. Yes. There's no ego here, because, what am I going to do 100 years from now? Or not even 100 years, 1 year from now, saying, hey, I kept my books perfectly last year. Nobody could find any mistakes. That's fantastic. But I worked very hard to keep my books, but I made a small mistake, but I didn't want anybody else to know. Your working hard is something you have to do. It's part of your job. It's everybody works hard. The corporate people who work in corporates work hard. Everybody works hard to, make a living. So your working hard is good, but it's not the only thing that matters. What matters is the fact that we did things correctly and we did things well, and we did things. And these are accounts and things are something we have to be extraordinarily almost persnickety about, right?
Absolutely.
So working with them to make sure that they're recognized to, for the importance of their work, because again, without them, the organization cannot run. The biggest contribution I think I have made to the organization is bridging the finance team and the program team's work, bringing them closer together, and linking all of this to how our work is presented to the outside world, and hopefully making sure that they get the recognition that they deserve. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Thank you so much. So I think I want to now ask something about your personal philosophy and motivation. Like, what drives you in your work at the Banyan? How does your personal philosophy align with the goals of the organization?
It started off with I want to do well in mental health. Then I want to be great in my career. I want to be like a prolific researcher who's come up with the biggest innovation in mental health. Then it became I want to serve my patients. I want to serve my clients. Then it became I want to serve the organization. Now I think it's back to I want to do well in mental health because Banyan has gone way past just the Banyan, right? We
Yes.
are significantly contributing to the mental health sector. Where, like you said, so many innovations, so many policy recommendations. So I mean, about 10,000 individuals just off the top of my head are served. We've reached out to about 1 million people. So,
That's
and
huge.
our research contributions have also been very significant, although we have not written as much as we ought to have. Many of our founders are very, very gifted writer. We have a lovely team of gifted writers, but we're obsessed with, servicing people and programs, and so we haven't written as much as we have, but it's huge. So I think at this point my thought is always about how over the past, let's say, I would say about 6 months, how do I build my own skills as a practitioner, because I've gone back to practice. What are the technical skills that I need to relearn? Because it is not, I mean, it is somewhat like riding a bike, but techniques in mental health, techniques in treating people or engaging in outreach or aftercare or reintegration, they are very, very solid skills that you need to build over a period of time. These are not soft skills. These are not just about being nice to people. It's extremely scientific. And I haven't been part of that science in about, I think, 4, 5, 6 years. So I'm now just watching all my colleagues do what they do. I've always watched them, but it was always in a point of hurry. Oh, how do I reflect the emergency care recovery center well? How do I reflect the Home Again project well? How do I reflect Nalam well? So I've been watching it from a partnership standpoint, but now I'm watching the work they do with each individual client, like I said, and how are they able to innovate? How are they able to creatively problem solve with them? So, so my personal philosophy that drives me right now, there were different philosophies over different periods of time, but my personal philosophy that driving me right now is just being in love with the mental health sector.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Nobody could have articulated it this well as much as you did. That's incredibly awesome. So again, you just said now you're looking at it in a totally different lens. So I guess it's because you're pursuing a doctoral degree also. So I wanted to ask you about that. Like, you're currently pursuing a doctoral degree while managing significant responsibilities at the Banyan. How do your academic studies complement and inform your professional role? Could you provide examples of how your research has brought new insights or changes to your work at the Banyan, particularly in the area of partnerships and mental health advocacy?
Sure. Okay, I'm probably the oldest doctoral student in the Banyan. You'll say I've been doing my PhD now for 10 years and highly ineffective as a researcher. So I'm just putting that out there right away, so you don't mistake me for someone else.
No, not at all. But that's amazing that you're doing it over a course of your career. So you're learning and you're from your environment, and then you're fine-tuning it also, right? Because of the educational platform you're part of.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at my colleagues Vandana, or I mean my boss Vandana, or my colleague Lakshmi, Archana, Smriti, all of them, I think they did it over a period of 3.5, 4 years. I don't know why I've taken this long to be honest, but if I were to put a positive spin on it, I everything that I do is reflected in my PhD.
Awesome.
So I've never done academic work for the sake of it. But I think my colleagues were able to finish it a lot. I mean, they're faster writers, of course, but they're able to finish it a lot faster because they're in the field. They're talking to people. But I was little disconnected from that. And so my first answer is that how does academia contribute to my practice is not as significant. How does my practice contribute to academia?
Okay, got it.
Right.
It's
So
the other way around. Yeah.
It's totally the other way around for me. So if I don't, so like before I have to write something, and Vandana has always told me this, I think it worked very well for her. So she's my co-promoter as well. So she said that if I want to write a book, or if I want to write my PhD, if I want to write an article, I just have to go sit outside for a while. Right. I have to go do my job, and the words will come
automatically.
So that is something that I value hugely. So how is my doing? So a lot of my work involves, I'm not doing therapy. I'm not a therapist. So I'm not doing therapy for my clients right now. So largely what I look at is overall individual well-being, how programs can be structured. And soon I will, in about a year or so, I plan to get into a lot of technical one-on-one work with our patients as well, because I've also trained in open dialogue, which is a practice hugely promoted by the Banyan, which encourages people to use their networks, and it's not like therapy one-on-one, because you go back home to a completely different life, right? So I would like to take that on a little more and do that. But so practice informing academia is one part, but what I would say, what solid things I feel academia has done for me and for many others at the Banyan is exposed us to a world outside. Because when we are entrenched in the kind of work that we do, and with the kind of pride that we get, we're very, very proud people, right? I think at the Banyan.
Absolutely, you should be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So for us, obviously, we think, we don't not criticize. We definitely, like I said, we're constantly asking for feedback and how things can be better. But we don't know any other world outside. Like, I've never had another job.
I know, right? You told me this was your first job, and kudos
my
to you.
Only job.
At a very young age, you realized what you want to do, and you stuck with it.
Yeah, I was 23 when I joined.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so so basically but what I feel academia has done is that, okay, sure, this is the project that you've planned. Great, it's a good idea, but this has been done on a large scale earlier. This is not the first time you're trying something. It has been done. It works. It doesn't work. How it works. How it doesn't work. Right. So it exposes us to a world outside of our own. And it also helps you consolidate your thoughts very, very well. It helps you articulate. Reading and writing, it gives you, it's part of like a nutrition diet, right? So Banyan gives us the carbs, it gives us the minerals, it gives us the vitamin. But I think reading and writing gives us the protein. That energy,
very eloquently put. You put all that together in a beautiful package. That's amazing. That's wonderful. So the last question I have for you is, something which is related to the vision for the future.
Yeah.
So looking forward, what changes or advancements are you most excited about in the field of mental health? How do you envision your role and the Banyan's role in shaping these developments?
Okay. There's a huge vision. There's a laundry list. But I would start with really understanding what works when it comes to an individual. Right? Because like I said, we've served over 10,000 people through our inpatient services, 1 million through our, Nalam program and everything. But some people get better, some people don't, and some people organically get better. So, the function of their illness or the function of, just who they are has helped them get better, but some don't. right? So what is it other than the, services, the programs that we offer, right? Like we're inpatient service, outpatient service. What is it about one-on-one? What about that one-on-one engagement made the patient do better? I think that is something that I'm very, very curious to understand.
What's that one thing which clicked and they were able to, recover?
Right.
You're
That's
understanding what are the things that the connection point, right, between the client as well as the caregiver. What is it that they're connecting with? If we can understand that, I guess it becomes much easier for us to, treat them.
Hugely, because because psychology or mental health is also a huge business, right?
Yes.
People are making millions. I don't know who these people are, but they're making millions of rupees and dollars and pounds doing this. But many times I've seen that the person who has not completed 10th standard and who's working as a health worker or a primary worker, they are the people who made the difference. Not all of us qualified from all over the place. So
you're
what is
100% right. And I've seen this over and over again. We as women, right, we all have our own friends or buddies who we go and they are a therapist in essence. They just listen to us and something about them, the comforting words they say resonates with us. And they're not practitioners or they're not, a qualified psychiatrist or psychologist, but just having a conversation with that particular individual just completely heals whatever problem you're going through that particular moment in time. And even maybe that person themselves do not know they're doing this to you, but it's just their presence or the way they listen to you or a few words, how they connect with you makes a world of difference. So if we understand what that is, right, for us as an individual, what resonates and what is it we're looking for, I guess it's easier for us to heal and also to connect with the resources. Like you said, you don't need to have a college degree. You rightfully said, here, if you're going to a psychiatrist in the United States, it's on an hourly rate. Per hour for a session, you're paying dollars and dollars, millions of dollars. Sometimes they make millions of dollars because per hour is like really, really high. It's vast majority of the people cannot afford, going to a doctor is because of the cost involved in it. But if we can train or get trained, the common man can get trained to offer a, shoulder when somebody is going through a distress, I think it'll make a world of difference. So you're bringing in a really important point. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah. So I just like, my father was telling me that, whenever he was young and he was creating a racket around the house and crying and screaming, my grandmother just did nothing except just stuff his mouth with curd rice, right? And then he would keep quiet. He would just settle down. And I'm not trivializing this at all, but I've been reading a lot about curd and curd rice and how much that can, sort of that there are anandamides in curd. Then there's this tryptylene, I think that's what it's called. You can correct it post edits if you want. That makes a part of your mind satisfied.
Oh wow.
Right. That's why when we eat curd rice, we want to sleep. Right.
That's
so
completely calming you as a human being.
Calming you down. There is so much science here, right? So when we're talking about healing or speaking comforting words, very, very, very important. But I feel that we are looking for science in all the wrong places, or we're looking for science in only one particular place. What our healthcare workers do, they are brilliant. They are brilliant, and many of them all of them come from the same circumstances as our patients do.
But oh wow, and then even then they're able to perform a totally different role.
Because of that, they're able to perform. Because of that, they're able to perform. Because I think they know exactly what the realities are, the cultural, the economical, the socio-political realities that our clients come from is the same that our healthcare
they're going
through.
From. So they're able to connect with them because they're able to stand in their own shoes and say, okay, I know exactly what you're going through. And
that's right. And I know what you need. I'm able to speak to you and resonate with you in such a way that the therapist is not able to. So maybe there is a need. You're able to communicate to me personally that you're not able to do with a highly qualified doctor. And this is not to decry or disparage their job, but it's just that there are different jobs for different people. But we just keep confusing, we keep confusing that I can do your job. No, I can't do your job. But there should be more of the healthcare workers who are trained to do exactly what it is that they're doing, motivating them in such a way that they know that what they're doing is extremely scientific, right? So they may not have PhDs, they may not even have school degrees, but the point is that is science.
Yes.
Yeah, that science, along with the psychiatrist science, along with the psychologist science, along with the social work practitioner science, all this, and the researchers science, all this really comes together. But what ends up happening is that we always are in some kind of nonsensical turf war in the sector. I'm better than you, or better than me is better than the other person in this field. Really, what are you doing? What you're doing is to serve the patient. So it really doesn't matter that the psychologist manage something, or the social worker manage something, or the psychiatrist manage something, or the healthcare worker manage something. So my vision ultimately to, like I said, looking at what works at an individual level, in addition to that, is to just bring more people together, bring people from different disciplines together, to stop obsessing over the discipline and to start thinking about what the discipline was created for.
Understood. So it's not about the titles or your degrees or whatever comes with it. It is like, can you do a human connection just because of how you can connect with a human? That's exactly right. I guess the world will be a much better place if we all do that, right? And especially in the sector that you're involved in, it is very, very important, because it impacts someone's life a lot. Thank you so much, Mrinalini. Thank you so much for joining us today. Your insights and experiences have truly, truly enriched our understanding of the impactful work being done at the Banyan. It's clear that your dedication not only advances the mission of the organization, but also significantly contributes to the broader dialogue on mental health and community care. So as final thoughts, do you want to say something to our listeners before we say goodbye?
No, I'm just very grateful that you had me over and you're representing the Banyan's work, because what we do is extremely important and extremely scientific, like I said. So I just hope more young people get into the sector and do this work. So that's, all of us are engaged in just trying to make that happen, and more involvement in the sector from civil society. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. So to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. We hope today's discussion has inspired you as much as it has enlightened us. Remember, each one of us has the potential to make a difference in our communities, and together we can continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in mental health and inclusive development. Stay engaged, stay inspired, and until next time, keep moving the planet forward. Goodbye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Together, we're exploring the innovations and stories that inspire us to think and act for a sustainable world. If you're inspired by today's conversation and want to be part of this journey toward a greener future, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode filled with groundbreaking ideas and actionable solutions. Let's continue to make a difference, one episode at a time. I'm Preetha, reminding you to make every day count for our planet. Until next time, keep moving the planet forward.